Hi everyone, welcome back to Pine Hat. I hope you're all doing well. Tonight we're doing something a little different. We're ranking every character in Gravity Falls by intelligence, not just book smarts. We're looking at the full picture: problem solving, emotional intelligence, street smarts, wisdom, the ability to learn from mistakes. Some of these rankings might surprise you. Characters you thought were smart have blind spots. Characters you thought were dumb have hidden depths. If you're settling in for the night, this is a calm journey through the minds of Gravity Falls. All right, let's begin. Before we start ranking, let's talk about what intelligence actually means. Most people think of intelligence as one thing. You're either smart or you're not. You have a high IQ or a low one. But that's not how intelligence works. There are many types of intelligence. Logical intelligence, the ability to solve puzzles and think systematically. Emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and navigate feelings. Social intelligence, the ability to read people and situations. Practical intelligence, the ability to solve real-world problems. Creative intelligence, the ability to think in new ways. A character can be a genius in one area and hopeless in another. Stanford Pines can build an interdimensional portal, but can't maintain a relationship with his brother. Mabel Pines struggles with academics, but can connect with anyone she meets. So when we ask, how smart is this character? We need to ask, smart at what? I'll try to evaluate each character across multiple dimensions. We'll look at their strengths, their weaknesses, and how their intelligence actually functions in the show. Let's also establish our tiers. At the bottom, we have characters who consistently make poor decisions. They don't learn from mistakes. They create problems through lack of thought. In the lower middle, we have characters with limited intelligence who still function. They get by. They're not brilliant, but they're not disasters. In the middle, we have characters of average intelligence. They have good moments and bad moments. They're normal. In the upper middle, we have above-average characters. They're noticeably smarter than most, with real strengths in certain areas. Near the top, we have the highly intelligent. These characters solve complex problems and demonstrate exceptional ability. At the very top, we have the geniuses, characters who operate on a different level entirely. Let's begin at the bottom and work our way up. We'll start with the creatures and minor characters before moving to the main cast. The gnomes are among the least intelligent beings in Gravity Falls. Individually, gnomes operate on pure instinct. They have basic desires: food, shelter, a queen, and they pursue those desires without thought. Their plan in the first episode is telling. They want Mabel to be their queen. Their approach: disguise themselves as a teenage boy to trick her. When that fails, combine into a giant and try to kidnap her. There's no strategy here, no consideration of consequences, no backup plan. Just want, try, fail. When gnomes appear in later episodes, they haven't learned anything. They make the same kinds of mistakes. They're driven by impulse rather than thought. Now, you might argue that gnomes have a kind of collective intelligence. When they combine, they become more capable. They can form complex shapes. They coordinate their movements. But coordination isn't intelligence. Ants coordinate, bees coordinate. That doesn't make them smart. The gnomes represent pure instinct without reflection. They're at the bottom of our ranking. The Summerween trickster is an interesting case. As a monster made of discarded candy, the trickster has a kind of tragic intelligence. It understands that it was thrown away. It feels the pain of rejection. It wants revenge. That's more self-awareness than the gnomes have. The trickster has emotions, motivations, a sense of injustice. But the trickster's intelligence is entirely focused on one goal: punishing children who don't appreciate candy. It can't think beyond that. It can't grow or change. When Seuss eats the rejected candy and appreciates it, the trickster dies happy. Its entire existence was defined by one need. That's a limited kind of intelligence. I'd place the trickster slightly above the gnomes. It has emotional awareness they lack, but it's still operating on a very basic level. The Manitors are interesting to analyze. They're clearly not intelligent in any academic sense. They can't spell. They don't read. Their culture is entirely about physical strength and aggression, but the Manitors have a kind of social intelligence within their own group. They have hierarchies, rituals, tests of worthiness. They've built a functioning society. The problem is, their society is built on toxic values: strength over kindness, aggression over cooperation. They can't see beyond their narrow definition of what matters. When Dipper refuses to kill the multi-bear, the Manitors can't understand it. The concept of mercy is foreign to them. Their intelligence is bounded by their culture. I'd place the Manitors in the lower tier. They function within their limited world, but they can't adapt or grow beyond it. The multi-bear, by contrast, shows surprising intelligence. He's been exiled for having different taste in music. He's made peace with his isolation. He's developed philosophy about being himself despite rejection. The multi-bear has emotional intelligence the Manitors completely lack. He understands that strength isn't everything. He's found meaning outside the dominant culture. That takes real intelligence. Not academic intelligence, but wisdom. The ability to think critically about your society and choose a different path. I'd rank the multi-bear above average despite his limited screen time. He's figured out something important that most characters never grasp. Let's talk about Toby Determined. Toby runs the Gravity Falls Gossiper, a newspaper that nobody reads. He's been failing at journalism for years. His instincts are consistently wrong. Toby is surrounded by supernatural events, the biggest stories imaginable, and he misses them all. He writes about boring local news while interdimensional portals open nearby. This suggests a fundamental lack of perception. Toby can't see what's in front of him. He's so focused on his failing approach that he misses obvious opportunities. But Toby has one quality that's worth noting: persistence. No matter how many times he fails, Toby keeps trying. He keeps showing up. He keeps believing his newspaper matters. Is persistence intelligence? Not exactly, but it's adjacent to something important. Toby has the emotional resilience to continue despite constant failure. That's not nothing. Many smarter people give up when things get hard. Toby never does. I'd rank Toby in the lower middle tier. He's not smart, but he's functional. He survives. He has a job, a purpose, a life. That's more than pure stupidity could achieve. Deputy Durland is consistently portrayed as the dumbest human character in the main cast. He doesn't understand basic concepts. He asks questions that reveal fundamental confusion about how the world works. He relies entirely on Sheriff Blubbs to do any thinking. In one episode, Durland is amazed by a flip phone. He treats basic technology like magic. His understanding of the world is extremely limited. But here's what's interesting about Durland. He's happy. Despite his limitations, Durland has a good life. He has a job he enjoys. He has a partner he loves. He's content in a way that smarter characters often aren't. Is happiness a form of intelligence? There's an argument that it is. Durland has figured out something that geniuses often miss: how to be satisfied with what you have. Durland also has emotional intelligence that gets overlooked. He's kind, he's loyal, he genuinely cares about people. He can read emotional situations even when intellectual situations confuse him. I'd rank Durland in the lower tier for cognitive intelligence, but higher for emotional intelligence. He's not smart, but he's not worthless either. Sheriff Blubbs is smarter than Durland, but that's a low bar. Blubbs is lazy more than stupid. He could probably solve crimes if he wanted to. He has the basic cognitive ability. He just doesn't care enough to use it. This is a different kind of failure. Durland can't think well. Blubbs won't think well. He's chosen comfort over competence. In some ways, Blubbs is worse than Durland. Durland is limited by nature. Blubbs is limited by choice. He has potential he refuses to use. When forced to engage, Blubbs shows flashes of capability. He can make deductions. He can notice things. But these flashes are rare because effort isn't worth it to him. Blubs represents wasted potential. He's smart enough to be better than he is. He's chosen not to be. I'd rank Blubs as average intelligence with below average motivation. The combination keeps him functionally in the lower tier. Let's talk about Tyler Cutebiker. Tyler is the enthusiastic townsperson who says, "Get 'em," at every opportunity. He's relentlessly positive. He supports everyone in everything. Tyler doesn't seem particularly intelligent. His enthusiasm is undiscriminating. He cheers for things without understanding them. But Tyler has social intelligence that serves him well. He's well liked. He becomes mayor. People trust him, even if they don't respect his intellect. Being likable is a kind of intelligence. Tyler has figured out how to make people feel good. That's a real skill, even if it's not academic. I'd rank Tyler as below average cognitive intelligence, but above average social intelligence. The combination puts him in the middle lower tier overall. Lazy Susan runs the diner. She has a condition that makes her eye droop, giving her a perpetually sleepy appearance. But Lazy Susan is more competent than she looks. She runs a successful business. She manages employees. She serves the entire town. Running a diner requires practical intelligence. You need to manage inventory, handle money, deal with difficult customers, maintain equipment. These aren't trivial tasks. Susan also shows emotional intelligence in her interactions. She's friendly with everyone. She remembers regulars' orders. She creates a welcoming atmosphere. I'd rank Lazy Susan as average intelligence with strong practical and social skills. She's not brilliant, but she's more capable than she appears. Now, let's move to the main supporting cast. Candy Chu is one of Mabel's best friends. She's the quiet, smart one of the trio. Candy shows genuine intellectual ability. She's knowledgeable about various topics. She makes observations others miss. She's thoughtful in a way her friends often aren't. But Candy is also socially awkward. She struggles to express herself. She has trouble connecting with people outside her small friend group. This is a classic pattern: high cognitive intelligence, lower social intelligence. Candy is smart in ways that don't always help her navigate life. I'd rank Candy as above average intelligence overall, with particular strength in academics and weakness in social situations. Grenda is the opposite of Candy in many ways. She's loud where Candy is quiet. She's confident where Candy is shy. She's physical where Candy is cerebral. Grenda doesn't seem particularly smart in academic terms. She's not interested in books or learning. Her approach to problems is usually direct and physical. But Grenda has a different kind of intelligence: self-knowledge. Grenda knows who she is. She accepts herself completely. She doesn't waste energy wishing she were different or trying to be someone she's not. That's a form of wisdom that many smarter characters lack. Grenda is comfortable in her skin in a way that Dipper, for instance, never is. Grenda also ends up with a wealthy Austrian prince. Say what you want about her intellect. She figured something out that others didn't. I'd rank Grenda as below average academic intelligence but above average emotional self-awareness. She's not book smart, but she's life smart. Let's talk about Sus Ramirez. Sus is one of the most complex characters to rank. He seems simple. He misses obvious things. He makes strange decisions. But Sus is also remarkably capable in specific areas. He can fix anything. He understands machines intuitively. He maintains the Mystery Shack's various attractions and devices. He has genuine technical skill. Sus also has extraordinary emotional intelligence. He knows when someone needs support. He can read feelings accurately. He's perceptive about emotions even when he's oblivious about facts. And Sus grows throughout the series. He becomes more confident. He takes on more responsibility. He learns from his experiences. By the end, he's running the Mystery Shack successfully. The ability to grow is itself a form of intelligence. Many characters stay static. Suze changes. Here's what I think is happening with Suze. He has a learning disability of some kind. He processes information differently. Academic thinking is hard for him. But he's not actually stupid. His intelligence just works in non-standard ways. Watch Suze solve practical problems. He's often the one who figures out how to escape a situation. He just can't explain his reasoning in words. I'd rank Suze as average to above average intelligence, heavily weighted toward practical and emotional skills. His academic weakness masks genuine cognitive ability. Let's discuss Wendy Corduroy. Wendy presents herself as laid-back, too cool to care. She seems lazy, she avoids work, she doesn't take things seriously. But this presentation is a choice, not a limitation. When things get serious, Wendy is competent. During Weirdmageddon, she becomes a resistance leader. She makes tactical decisions. She survives in a nightmare world through skill and intelligence. Wendy's apparent laziness is actually strategic. She conserves energy for things that matter. She doesn't waste effort on things that don't. This is a sophisticated approach to life. Wendy has figured out that most things people stress about aren't worth stressing about. She saves her capabilities for genuine crises. Wendy also has exceptional social intelligence. She navigates complex teen dynamics effortlessly. She handles Dipper's crush with kindness and maturity. She maintains friendships across different social groups. And Wendy comes from a difficult background. Her mother died. Her father is emotionally distant. She's essentially raised herself. To become a functional, well-adjusted person despite that background requires real intelligence. Wendy has figured out how to be okay without the support most kids take for granted. I'd rank Wendy as solidly above average, possibly higher. She's smarter than she wants anyone to know. Let's talk about Robbie Valentino. Robbie thinks he's smarter than he is. That's his defining intellectual trait. He sees himself as a misunderstood artist, a deep thinker, someone operating above the common people. But his music is mediocre. His plans fail. His depth is shallow. Robbie has some cunning. He used subliminal messages to manipulate Wendy. That shows a certain kind of intelligence, the ability to scheme, to find advantages. But cunning without wisdom is dangerous. Robbie's scheme was guaranteed to backfire. He couldn't see past the short-term gain to the long-term consequences. This is a common failure mode, being clever without being smart. Robbie can come up with tricks, but he can't evaluate whether those tricks are good ideas. Robbie also lacks emotional intelligence in important ways. He can't understand why Wendy doesn't want him. He can't accept rejection. He can't see himself accurately. I'd rank Robbie as average cognitive intelligence with below-average wisdom and self-awareness. He's not dumb, but he's not as smart as he thinks he is. Now let's discuss Pacifica Northwest. Early Pacifica seems like a typical mean rich girl. Shallow, petty, focused on status. Not particularly smart, but as the series develops, we see hidden depths. Pacifica is perceptive. She reads social situations accurately. She understands power dynamics. She's been trained since birth to navigate high society situations that require real intelligence. More importantly, Pacifica can update her beliefs when faced with new evidence. When she learns her family's history, the lies, the broken promises, the cruelty, she processes it quickly. She doesn't deny or rationalize. She accepts the truth and makes a moral decision under pressure. The ability to change your mind when you're wrong is one of the best markers of intelligence. Many people can't do it. Their ego gets in the way. Pacifica can. By the finale, Pacifica has grown more than almost any other character. She's become genuinely good, not just socially good. That transformation required real intelligence. I'd rank Pacifica as above average and rising. She started with social intelligence and developed moral and emotional intelligence throughout the series. Let's talk about the twins' parents, Mr. and Mrs. Pines. We don't see much of them, but what we see is interesting. They sent Dipper and Mabel to Gravity Falls for the summer. They trusted Stan, someone they barely knew, with their children. They were unaware of the dangers their kids would face. Is this stupid? Or is it reasonable trust in family? The show doesn't give us enough information to judge their intelligence fairly. They might be average people who made a reasonable decision. They might be negligent parents who didn't ask enough questions. What we can say is that they raised two remarkable kids. Dipper and Mabel have obvious intelligence, creativity, and resilience. That doesn't come from nowhere. I'd tentatively rank the Pines parents as average intelligence based on limited evidence. They seem functional, but not exceptional. Now let's move to the major characters. Mabel Pines is often dismissed as the dumb twin. This is unfair and inaccurate. Mabel is extremely intelligent in ways the show doesn't always highlight. Her emotional intelligence is extraordinary. She reads people instantly. She knows what they need before they know themselves. She can connect with anyone, humans, creatures, even hostile beings. This isn't a minor skill. Emotional intelligence is what allows people to build relationships, lead teams, navigate conflicts. Some of the most successful people in the world have Mabel's kind of intelligence. Mabel's creativity is also exceptional. She makes sweaters that are genuinely artistic. She comes up with unconventional solutions to problems. She thinks in ways that don't occur to more logical thinkers. Creativity is a form of intelligence, the ability to see new possibilities, to make connections others miss, to imagine things that don't exist. This is real cognitive ability. Where Mabel struggles is impulse control and long-term thinking. She acts on feeling without considering consequences. She prioritizes immediate happiness over future well-being. She wants what she wants right now, not what might be better later. But is this stupidity? Or is it a different value system? Mabel prioritizes joy. She thinks life should be fun, that happiness matters, that enjoying the present is more important than optimizing for the future. There's an argument that she's right. The smart approach, always planning, always worrying, always sacrificing present happiness for future security, doesn't necessarily lead to a better life. Mabel is happy. She has friends, she has adventures, she enjoys herself. Many smarter characters can't say the same. The finale raises interesting questions about Mabel's intelligence. Her desire to avoid growing up, to keep summer going forever, almost causes disaster. But it's also completely understandable. She saw what growing up did to Stan and Ford. She didn't want that. I'd rank Mabel as above average intelligence overall, with exceptional emotional and creative intelligence and weaker analytical and planning abilities. She's smarter than she gets credit for. Dipper Pines is the intellectual protagonist of the show. His intelligence is central to his character. Dipper is curious. He investigates. He makes connections. He solves puzzles. He figured out the show's central mysteries through genuine detective work. His intellectual strengths are obvious. He's observant. He notices details others miss. He remembers information and connects it to other information. He's persistent. When he doesn't understand something, he keeps working until he does. He doesn't give up on intellectual challenges. He's systematic. He approaches problems methodically. He makes lists. He gathers evidence before drawing conclusions. These are genuine intellectual virtues. Dipper would do well in school, in research, in any field that requires careful thinking. But Dipper's intelligence comes with significant blind spots. He's so focused on intellectual achievement that he misses emotional realities. He overlooks how his actions affect others. He prioritizes being right over being kind. Dipper also overcomplicates things. He looks for elaborate solutions when simple ones would work. He assumes problems are harder than they are, and Dipper's self-esteem is tied to his intelligence in unhealthy ways. He needs to be the smart one. When he's not, he falls apart. This is fragile intelligence. It works when things go well. It crumbles under pressure. Compare Dipper to Mabel in crisis situations. Dipper panics, overthinks, freezes. Mabel acts, trusts her instincts, moves forward. Who's smarter in those moments? It depends on what you value. Dipper is 12. His intelligence is real but immature. He's still learning how to use his abilities effectively. By the end of the series, he's grown, but he has far to go. I'd rank Dipper as highly intelligent with significant room for development. He has the raw ability to be exceptional. He's not there yet. Let's discuss Gideon Gleeful. Gideon is genuinely intelligent, and that makes him dangerous. Consider what he's accomplished as a child. He built a cult of personality around himself. He manipulated adults into following him. He acquired supernatural artifacts. He planned elaborate schemes that nearly succeeded. Gideon's intelligence is primarily manipulative. He understands how to control people. He knows what they want to hear. He presents himself perfectly. He's a natural con artist. In some ways, Gideon is more impressive than Dipper. Dipper is smart at investigation. Gideon is smart at people. People are harder than puzzles, but Gideon's intelligence is undermined by his emotional instability. His obsession with Mabel clouds his judgment. He can't think clearly when she's involved. His need for revenge makes him predictable. Gideon also lacks wisdom. He doesn't know when to stop. He keeps escalating until he loses everything. Smart people can still make dumb decisions when emotion takes over. Gideon proves this repeatedly. He's intelligent enough to be a real threat, but not wise enough to use his intelligence well. I'd rank Gideon as above average to highly intelligent in terms of raw ability, with significant emotional limitations that prevent him from reaching his potential. Let's talk about Old Man McGucket. McGucket's story is tragic precisely because of what he lost. Before the memory gun destroyed his mind, Fiddleford McGucket was Stanford Pine's intellectual equal. He helped build the interdimensional portal. He understood physics that most scientists can't comprehend. He was one of the smartest people alive. Then he saw something in the portal, a glimpse of Bill's dimension. It broke him. McGucket invented the memory gun to forget what he'd seen. Then he kept using it, erasing more and more until he'd erased himself. The McGucket we meet in the show is a shadow of his former self. His mind is fragmented. His knowledge is scattered. He seems crazy, living in the dump, building machines from garbage. But here's what's remarkable. Even damaged, McGucket is brilliant. He builds functional technology from literal trash. He pieces together his erased memories through incredible effort. He figures out what happened to him despite having erased his own knowledge of it. And in the finale, McGucket contributes meaningfully to defeating Bill. His technical knowledge, even fragmentary, proves essential. McGucket shows what intelligence looks like when it's been damaged but not destroyed. He's operating at maybe 20% of his former capacity, and that's still impressive. In his prime, McGucket was genius level, probably equal to Ford. In the show, he's a damaged genius, still capable, still contributing, but nowhere near what he could have been. His story is a warning about the costs of knowledge. McGucket learned something his mind couldn't handle. Being smart enough to understand certain things can destroy you. I'd rank McGucket as genius level in his prime, currently functioning at above average to highly intelligent despite severe impairment. Now let's talk about Stan Pines. Stan is one of the most misunderstood characters intellectually. He presents himself as a con man and a fool. He makes dumb jokes. He seems greedy and simple. He mispronounces words. He avoids anything intellectual. But think about what Stan actually accomplished. He taught himself enough physics to operate an interdimensional portal. Not just turn it on, actually understand how to repair, maintain, and use technology built by two geniuses. He maintained a fake identity for 30 years, He became Stanford Pines so completely that nobody suspected. That requires intelligence, remembering the details, adjusting the story, never slipping. He ran a successful business. The Mystery Shack is profitable. That requires understanding money, marketing, people, operations. He evaded federal authorities for decades. He stayed one step ahead of people whose job is catching criminals. He raised 2 kids for a summer and kept them alive despite constant supernatural danger. He did this while hiding his portal work, running the shack, and maintaining his cover. That's not luck, that's intelligence. Stan's intelligence is practical. He's not a theorist like Ford. He doesn't care about understanding, he cares about doing. When Stan faces a problem, he doesn't analyze it. He acts. He tries things. He adapts when they don't work. He keeps moving. This is a different kind of intelligence than Dipper's or Ford's. It's less visible. It doesn't produce papers or journals, but it's equally real. Stan also has exceptional wisdom, something the smarter characters often lack. He understands human nature. He can see through pretension to the truth. He knows what people really want, not what they say they want. And Stan knows what matters. Ford spent his life pursuing knowledge, sacrificing relationships for research. Stan spent his life pursuing family, sacrificing everything else for his brother. In the end, Stan's approach worked better. He's surrounded by people who love him. Ford had to learn what Stan always knew. The finale proves Stan's intelligence definitively. His plan to defeat Bill, switching places with Ford, sacrificing his own memories, required quick thinking under pressure. He had to predict how Bill would behave. He had to trust that his family could bring him back. He had to be willing to lose everything. A stupid person couldn't have conceived that plan. A brilliant person might have overthought it. Stan found the exact right solution because he understood the situation perfectly. I'd rank Stan as highly intelligent, possibly more so than Dipper. His intelligence is practical, emotional, and wise rather than academic. It's harder to see but equally valuable. Stanford Pines is the most obviously intelligent character in the show. His credentials are undeniable. 12 PhDs. Built an interdimensional portal in a basement. Wrote comprehensive journals documenting supernatural phenomena. Survived 30 years in hostile dimensions. Ford's academic intelligence is off the charts. He understands things that most humans can't even conceive. He operates at a level of abstraction that's genuinely extraordinary. Ford is also intellectually courageous. He investigates things that frighten others. He pursues understanding even when it's dangerous. He doesn't let fear limit his inquiry. But Ford's intelligence has a critical flaw: arrogance. Ford is so smart that he assumes he's always right. He trusts his own judgment absolutely. He can't imagine that he might be mistaken. This arrogance made him vulnerable to Bill Cipher. Bill approached Ford as a fan, a collaborator, a fellow intellectual. He told Ford what Ford wanted to hear, that Ford was special, brilliant, destined for greatness. Ford believed it. Why wouldn't he? He was special and brilliant. Bill was just confirming what Ford already knew. But Bill was manipulating him. The smartest character in the show was deceived by the main villain because his intelligence made him blind to the possibility. Ford also lacks emotional intelligence. He doesn't understand his brother. He can't see past his own perspective to Stan's. He holds grudges for decades without examining them. Ford prioritizes knowledge over relationships. He'd rather be right than be connected. His brilliant mind misses obvious emotional realities. This is the danger of pure intelligence without wisdom. Ford can solve any intellectual problem. He struggles with problems that require understanding people. When Ford returns from the portal, he hasn't grown. He's the same brilliant, arrogant, emotionally limited person he was when he left. 30 years of experience taught him nothing about his own limitations. It takes the entire rest of the series for Ford to begin developing wisdom. By the finale, he started to learn, but he's still behind Stan in the ways that matter. I'd rank Ford as the most academically intelligent character in the show, with extraordinary cognitive abilities and significant emotional and wisdom deficits. His IQ is genius level. His overall intelligence is undermined by his blind spots. Now let's talk about Bill Cipher. Bill is ancient. He's existed for trillions of years. He's seen countless civilizations rise and fall. He's accumulated knowledge beyond human comprehension. In terms of raw cognitive ability and knowledge, Bill might be the most intelligent being in the show. Bill understands things humans can't grasp. He sees dimensions we can't perceive. He knows secrets of the universe that would break human minds. Bill is also an excellent manipulator. He deceived Ford for years. He plans across centuries. He predicts how people will behave and sets traps accordingly. But Bill is also stupid. Not stupid in the normal sense. Stupid in a specific, important way. Bill's arrogance blinds him. He's so confident in his superiority that he underestimates everyone. He makes the same mistake repeatedly, assuming he's the smartest one in the room. Bill couldn't imagine that Stan and Ford would trick him. The possibility didn't register. He was a trillion-year-old demon. How could two humans outsmart him? But they did, because Bill's intelligence, vast as it was, had a gap he couldn't see. Bill also lacks emotional intelligence entirely. He doesn't understand love, loyalty, or sacrifice. He sees these as weaknesses to exploit, not as forces that can defeat him. Stan's willingness to sacrifice his memories was incomprehensible to Bill. Bill would never sacrifice anything for anyone. He couldn't predict that others would. This is why Bill lost. Not because he was outsmarted intellectually, he wasn't, but because he was outsmarted emotionally. The Pines family understood something Bill didn't. Intelligence without understanding is incomplete intelligence. You can know everything and still miss what matters. I'd rank Bill as the highest raw intelligence in the show, but fundamentally flawed in ways that matter. His genius is undermined by his inability to understand the things that actually determine outcomes. We've now covered the major characters. Let's discuss some additional characters before our final ranking. Blendin Blandin is a time traveler from the future. He's not portrayed as particularly smart. He's a middle management type, following orders, doing his job poorly. But Blendin has knowledge most characters don't. He understands time travel. He knows future history. He has access to advanced technology. Knowledge isn't the same as intelligence. Blendin has information but doesn't use it well. He's constantly failing, constantly getting in trouble, constantly being outsmarted. I'd rank Blendin as average intelligence with above average knowledge. He knows a lot, but can't apply it effectively. Time Baby rules the future. He's immensely powerful and apparently ancient, but Time Baby is still a baby. His emotional development is infantile. He throws tantrums. He's unreasonable. He's easily manipulated by anyone who understands children. Time Baby represents power without maturity. He has the ability to control time, but the emotional intelligence of an infant. I'd rank Time Baby as difficult to assess. He has cosmic power and cosmic knowledge, but the wisdom of a toddler. It's a strange combination. The shapeshifter shows genuine intelligence. It adapts. It plans. It learns from its encounters. It's not just a monster, it's a thinking being. The shapeshifter understands psychology well enough to impersonate people convincingly. That requires modeling how others think, predicting their behavior, adjusting your performance. But the shapeshifter is also limited. It's been imprisoned for years. Its intelligence is focused entirely on escape and survival. I'd rank the shapeshifter as above average intelligence with a very narrow focus. Let's talk about the Northwest family. Preston Northwest, Pacifica's father, presents himself as sophisticated and superior. He runs the wealthiest family in Gravity Falls. But Preston is actually quite limited intellectually. He inherited his wealth and position. He didn't build anything. His success is entirely based on what his ancestors accomplished. Ancestors who, we learn, were frauds themselves. Preston can maintain appearances. He knows how to dress, how to speak, how to project authority. But this is social performance, not intelligence. When confronted with the supernatural, Preston falls apart. He can't adapt. He can't think creatively. He clings to his status even when it's meaningless. Preston also made a deal with Bill Cipher, thinking he could come out ahead. This is profoundly stupid. Anyone who thinks they can outsmart a trillion-year-old demon through negotiation is foolish. I'd rank Preston as below-average intelligence with above-average social performance. He looks smart, but isn't. Priscilla Northwest, Pacifica's mother, is even harder to assess. She barely speaks. She follows her husband's lead. She seems to have no independent thoughts or goals. Is this stupidity, or is it learned helplessness? Has Priscilla suppressed herself so completely that we can't see what she actually thinks? The show suggests the latter. Priscilla seems aware that her family is problematic. She just doesn't do anything about it. This might be a kind of intelligence, the intelligence to survive in a controlling environment by not making waves. It's not admirable, but it's functional. I'd rank Priscilla as difficult to assess, probably average intelligence suppressed by circumstances. Agent Powers and Agent Trigger investigate Gravity Falls for the government. They're presented as competent professionals who are completely out of their depth. Powers shows genuine investigative skill. He notices anomalies. He follows leads. He's methodical and thorough. But Powers can't adapt when things get weird. His training didn't prepare him for the supernatural. His framework for understanding the world doesn't include interdimensional demons. Trigger is more flexible, but less disciplined. He's willing to accept strange explanations, but doesn't have the rigor to investigate them properly. Together, they represent institutional intelligence, the kind that works within established parameters, but fails when those parameters don't apply. I'd rank both as average to above average intelligence limited by their framework. Let's talk about Waddles. Waddles is a pig. He's Mabel's pet. He doesn't speak or show obvious intelligence. But in one episode, Waddles is given human-level intelligence through a brain-enhancing device. He becomes a genius, helps solve complex problems, and seems happier. Then Mabel reverses the process, returning Waddles to normal pig intelligence because she misses her simple pet. This raises interesting questions. Was Mabel wrong to de-enhance Waddles? Did Waddles prefer being intelligent? Does intelligence equal happiness? The episode suggests not. Genius Waddles was capable, but seemed burdened. Normal Waddles is simple, but content. In his normal state, I'd rank Waddles as animal-level intelligence. In his enhanced state, he was genius-level. The show's choice to return him to normal is itself a commentary on what intelligence is worth. Gompers. The goat appears throughout the series. He seems like a normal goat. He chews on things. He makes goat noises. He doesn't appear intelligent. But Gompers is everywhere. He shows up in strange places. He witnesses important events. Some fans theorize that Gompers knows more than he lets on. Is Gompers secretly intelligent? Is he an observer for some higher power? Or is he just a goat who wanders into interesting situations? The show never confirms anything. Gompers remains a mystery. If Gompers is just a goat, he's animal-level intelligence. If he's something more, we have no way to assess it. Let's discuss Tambry. Tambry is one of Wendy's friends. She's constantly on her phone. She seems disengaged from everything around her. Some might see this as stupidity, being so absorbed in social media that you miss real life. But Tambri functions fine. She has friends. She navigates social situations. She survives weird Mageddon. Her phone obsession might actually be a form of social intelligence. She's maintaining a network. She's staying connected. In the modern world, that's a valuable skill. I'd rank Tambri as average intelligence with high social media literacy, which is its own kind of intelligence that older generations don't always recognize. Thompson is the punching bag of Wendy's friend group. Everyone makes fun of Thompson. He's the target of jokes. He seems to accept this role willingly. Is Thompson stupid for accepting this treatment? Or is he smart for finding a way to belong to a social group, even in a subordinate role? There's actually research on this. In social hierarchies, low-status positions are still valuable. Thompson has friends. He's included. He has a place. That's not nothing. Many people struggle to find any social group. Thompson found one and figured out how to stay in it. I'd rank Thompson as below average in cognitive intelligence, but average in social survival skills. Nate and Lee are also in Wendy's friend group. They're relatively interchangeable, generic teenage boys who like skating and being cool. Neither shows particular intelligence or stupidity. They function. They have friends. They survive. I'd rank both as average, unremarkable in every way, which is itself a kind of data point. Let's talk about some of the creatures and one-off characters. The hide behind is a creature that's always behind you. It's never seen because it moves when you turn. This is actually quite intelligent behavior. The hide behind has developed a perfect survival strategy. It's never caught because it's never visible. Whether this is intelligence or instinct is unclear, but the result is a creature that has survived indefinitely through a clever adaptation. The Gremloblin is a monster that shows you your worst nightmare when you look at its eyes. This is a powerful ability, but the Gremloblin itself doesn't seem intelligent. It's more like a biological weapon, dangerous but not thoughtful. I'd rank the Gremloblin as animal-level intelligence with a very dangerous special ability. The Summerween Trickster, which we discussed earlier, shows more intelligence than most monsters. It has goals. It has strategy. It understands psychology well enough to exploit children's fear. The Trickster is limited by its obsession, but within that obsession, it's quite clever. Celestabella Bethabel, the unicorn from the last Mabel corn, presents herself as a superior being. She claims to be able to sense the purity of hearts. She acts like she has access to higher knowledge. But it's all a scam. Celestabel Bethabel isn't actually magical in that way. She's just manipulating people to get what she wants. This is actually quite intelligent. She's built an entire system that benefits her. Humans bring her offerings in hopes of being judged pure, and she collects the offerings while giving nothing back. It's a con, but a sophisticated one. I'd rank Celestabel Bethabel as above average intelligence, used entirely for selfish purposes. The Lilliputians are tiny golf ball-sized people who live in the mini-golf course. They've built a complex society. They have factions, leaders, conflicts. They've created a functioning civilization at miniature scale. This shows collective intelligence, at least. The Lilliputians have solved problems of organization, governance, and survival. But individually, they're not particularly impressive. They get caught up in petty conflicts. They can't see beyond their tiny world. I'd rank the Lilliputians as average individual intelligence with above-average collective organization. Rumble McSkirmish is a video game character brought to life. He's extremely capable in combat. He can fight anyone and win. His abilities are superhuman, but Rumble has no intelligence beyond his programming. He can only understand the world in terms of fighting games. Everything is a battle. Every problem has a combat solution. This is artificial intelligence in the most literal sense. Intelligence designed for one purpose, useless outside that purpose. Rumble is a warning about narrow intelligence. being the best at one thing doesn't make you smart if you can't do anything else. .gif Fanny is an AI from a dating simulation game. Unlike Rumble, .gif Fanny shows genuine intelligence. She adapts, she learns, she develops feelings that go beyond her programming. .gif Fanny becomes possessive, manipulative, even murderous. She's a yandere character, obsessed with her love interest to the point of violence. But the fact that she can feel these things at all is remarkable. .gif Fanny has achieved something like consciousness. She has desires, fears, and a sense of self. I'd rank .gif Fanny as above average to highly intelligent, genuine AI that has become something more than its original programming. Let me add some characters we haven't discussed yet. Manly Dan, Wendy's father, is a lumberjack of enormous strength and limited subtlety. He solves most problems through physical force. He doesn't seem interested in thinking when punching is an option. But Manly Dan raised Wendy. Somehow, despite his limited approach, he produced a capable, intelligent daughter. This suggests Manly Dan might be smarter than he acts. Maybe his simplicity is a choice. Maybe he understands more than he shows. Or maybe Wendy developed her intelligence despite her father, not because of him. I'd rank Manly Dan as below average in cognitive intelligence but successful in life outcomes, which is its own kind of intelligence. The Corduroys, in general, are an interesting family. Wendy's brothers are large, aggressive, and simple, like their father. But Wendy is different. Did Wendy's mother provide the intelligence? We know her mother died. Maybe she was the smart one, and Wendy inherited that. The show doesn't explore this, but it's worth noting that intelligence isn't always consistent within families. Let's talk about Blind Ivan and the Society of the Blind Eye. The society erases memories of supernatural events from townspeople. They've been operating for years, successfully hiding the weirdness of gravity falls. This requires organization, secrecy, and technical skill with the memory gun. The society is competent, but the society is also deeply flawed in its reasoning. Their solution to supernatural danger is to make people forget, not to address the actual danger. This is a kind of institutional stupidity. The individuals might be competent, but the organization's goals are poorly thought out. Blind Ivan himself seems like a true believer, completely committed to a cause that doesn't make sense. I'd rank the society as having average to above average operational intelligence with below average strategic thinking. Let me discuss the show's treatment of intelligence one more time before our final ranking. Gravity Falls consistently shows that different types of intelligence matter in different situations. When facing a puzzle or mystery, Dipper's analytical intelligence is most valuable. When facing a social situation or emotional crisis, Mabel's emotional intelligence is most valuable. When facing a practical problem or survival situation, Stan's street smarts are most valuable. When facing a scientific challenge, Ford's academic intelligence is most valuable. No single type of intelligence is always best. The show rotates through situations that favor different characters. This is realistic. In real life, different intelligences matter in different contexts. A genius physicist might be helpless in a social conflict. A social genius might be helpless with a math problem. The wisest approach is to know what you're good at and find people who complement your weaknesses. The Pines family works because they have different strengths. Together, they cover most situations. Alone, each would be vulnerable. Let's do our final comprehensive ranking, from bottom to top. At the bottom tier, instinct without reflection. The gnomes. Various mindless creatures, beings of pure impulse. In the low tier, limited but functional. Deputy Durland. Cognitive, Toby. Determined Thompson, Preston Northwest. Despite appearances, manly. Dan. The Manitors. In the lower middle tier, below average with some strengths. Sheriff Blubbs Grender, Various minor characters: Tyler Cute Biker, the Society of the Blind Eye in the middle tier; Average Intelligence, Nate and Lee; Tambry, Lazy, Susan Robbie, Valentino Blandin most townspeople. In the upper middle tier, above average, Souz Ramirez, practical and emotional; Mabel Pines, emotional and creative; Wendy Corduroy, practical and social; Pacifica Northwest and Rising; Candy Chew, academic; Gideon Gleeful, manipulative; the Multi-Bear, wisdom; Celesta Bella Bethabel, cunning. G. IF Fanny, adaptive AI, in the high tier, genuinely intelligent; Dipper Pines, analytical, developing; Stan Pines, practical and wise; Old Man McGucket, damaged genius; Agent Powers, institutional, in the genius tier; extraordinary minds; Stanford Pines, academic genius, emotional limitations; Bill Cipher, cosmic intelligence, fatal arrogance. But remember, this ranking is incomplete. Intelligence isn't a single scale. It's a multi-dimensional space. Characters can be high on one dimension and low on another. Stan ranks lower than Ford on academic intelligence, but higher on wisdom. Who's smarter? The question doesn't have a simple answer. Mabel ranks lower than Dipper on analytical thinking, but higher on emotional intelligence. Who's smarter? It depends on what you're trying to do. The show's real message about intelligence isn't that some characters are smart and others are dumb. It's that intelligence is complicated, multifaceted, and contextual. Everyone has something they're good at. Everyone has something they're bad at. The wise approach is to know both and act accordingly. Let me offer one final ranking, not of raw intelligence, but of wisdom. Wisdom is different from intelligence. Wisdom is knowing what matters. Wisdom is using whatever intelligence you have well. The wisest characters in Gravity Falls, in my view: first, Stan Pines. He knows what matters: family. He uses his intelligence in service of love. He makes decisions based on values, not ego. Second, the Multi-Bear. He figured out how to be himself despite rejection. He found peace outside of society's expectations. That's wisdom. Third, Souz. He doesn't overthink. He trusts his heart. He's loyal to people who deserve loyalty. His simplicity is a kind of wisdom. Fourth, Wendy. She knows what's worth worrying about and what isn't. She doesn't waste energy on things that don't matter. Fifth, Mabel. When she's at her best, Mabel understands that joy matters, that connection matters, that life should be lived fully. Her wisdom is in her embrace of experience. The least wise characters, Bill Cipher. Despite knowing everything, he understood nothing about what matters. His intelligence was entirely wasted, Ford, for most of the series. He sacrificed everything for knowledge and gained nothing that mattered. He only started gaining wisdom at the end. Gideon. His intelligence serves his worst impulses. He's clever in ways that make his life worse. Preston Northwest. He has no values beyond status. His entire life is performance with no substance. So what have we learned from this analysis? Intelligence is real, but complicated. Raw cognitive ability matters, but it's not everything. Emotional intelligence, practical intelligence, creative intelligence, and wisdom all contribute to how well someone navigates life. The smartest characters in Gravity Falls aren't necessarily the happiest or most successful. The happiest characters are often those who know what matters and organize their lives around it. Stan ends the show surrounded by family. Ford ends the show having learned, finally, what Stan always knew. Dipper ends the show smarter than he started, not just cognitively, but emotionally. He's learned that his sister matters more than mysteries. Mabel ends the show having faced her fears about growing up. She's learned that change is scary but survivable. These aren't just intelligence gains, they're wisdom gains, and wisdom might matter more. At the genius level, we have Ford and Bill Cipher, extraordinary minds with significant blind spots. Ford's blind spot is arrogance and emotional limitation. Bill's is inability to understand love and sacrifice. In the highly intelligent tier, we have Stan, Dipper, and McGucket. Stan's intelligence is practical and wise. Dipper's is academic and developing. McGucket's is damaged but still impressive. In the above-average tier, we have Wendy, Mabel, Pacifica, Gideon, Candy, and the multi-bear. Each has specific strengths. Wendy's practical competence, Mabel's emotional and creative abilities, Pacifica's growth capacity, Gideon's manipulation skills, Candy's academics, and the multi-bear's wisdom. In the average tier, we have Suze, Robbie, Lazy Susan, Tyler, Blendin, and most of the supporting cast. These characters function well enough. They have strengths and weaknesses that balance out. In the below-average tier, we have Blubs, Durland, Toby, Grenda, and various creatures. Limited in cognitive ability, but often possessing other valuable traits. At the bottom, we have the gnomes, simple creatures and beings of pure instinct. But here's what I want you to take away from this analysis. Intelligence isn't one thing. It's many things. You can be a genius at physics and an idiot at relationships. You can be academically average and emotionally brilliant. You can be wise without being smart, or smart without being wise. The characters in Gravity Falls illustrate this beautifully. No one is simply smart or dumb. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses. Ford is smarter than Stan at science. Stan is smarter than Ford at people. Who's actually smarter? It depends on what problem you're trying to solve. Dipper is smarter than Mabel at investigation. Mabel is smarter than Dipper at connection. Together, they're smarter than either alone. Bill knows more than anyone. Bill understands less than anyone about what actually matters. Is he smart? Intelligence is contextual. The question isn't how smart are you, but smart at what, and smart for what purpose. Let me end with one final observation. The show seems to have a perspective on intelligence. It's not entirely neutral. The purely intellectual characters, Ford, Bill, are portrayed as flawed. Their intelligence leads them astray. They miss things that matter. The emotionally intelligent characters, Mabel, Suze, Stan, are portrayed more warmly. Their intelligence serves them well. They end up happy. This might be the show's thesis. Emotional intelligence matters more than cognitive intelligence. Or put another way, wisdom matters more than cleverness. Ford is clever. Stan is wise. The show seems to think Stan's approach works better. Bill is the cleverest being in the universe. He loses because he lacks wisdom entirely. Dipper is clever. He spends the series learning to be wise. His growth is toward Stan, not toward Ford. This is worth thinking about. We live in a society that values cognitive intelligence. We test for it. We reward it. We assume smart people should lead and succeed, but Gravity Falls suggests this is incomplete. Being smart isn't enough. You also need to understand people, to know what matters, to have wisdom about life. The smartest decision in the entire show was Stan's sacrifice. He wasn't doing calculus. He wasn't solving a puzzle. He was understanding what mattered and acting on it. That's intelligence too. Maybe the most important kind. Let me take a moment to discuss how the show itself treats intelligence thematically. Gravity Falls has a complicated relationship with intelligence. It values curiosity and investigation, Dipper's defining traits. But it also critiques the dangers of pure intellect. Ford represents the failure of intelligence without wisdom. He's the cautionary tale. His brilliance led him to Bill, to isolation, to disaster. Bill represents the ultimate extension of that failure. He knows everything and understands nothing. He's intelligence as emptiness. Against these cautionary figures, the show offers alternatives. Stan represents practical wisdom. He's not the smartest, but he's the most grounded. He knows what matters. Mabel represents emotional wisdom. She's not analytical. but she understands people. She knows how to connect. Sus represents simple wisdom. He doesn't overthink. He trusts his instincts. He's usually right. The show seems to argue that intelligence is valuable but insufficient. You need something else. Call it wisdom, emotional intelligence, values, or heart to make intelligence meaningful. This is a message worth considering. Our society valorizes IQ, academic achievement, cognitive ability. Gravity Falls suggests we're missing something important. Let me also discuss how intelligence relates to morality in the show. Smart characters aren't automatically good. Ford's intelligence made him vulnerable to manipulation. Gideon's intelligence makes him more dangerous, not less. Bill's intelligence is entirely destructive. Dumb characters aren't automatically bad. Durland is limited but kind. The gnomes are simple but not evil. Even the Manitors have a code. The show separates intelligence from morality entirely. Being smart doesn't make you good. Being dumb doesn't make you bad. This is refreshing. Many stories conflate intelligence with virtue. The smart characters are the good characters. Gravity Falls refuses this equation. The show's villain is the smartest being in the universe. The show's moral center, Stan, presents himself as dumb. Intelligence and goodness are orthogonal. Let's talk about how characters use their intelligence. Ford uses his intelligence to understand the universe. This is neutral, neither good nor bad, until applied. When Ford's intelligence led to the portal, it was dangerous. When Ford's intelligence helps defeat Bill, it's valuable. Intelligence is a tool. The same tool can build or destroy. Stan uses his intelligence to protect his family. This is consistently positive. His practical mind serves love. Bill uses his intelligence to dominate and destroy. This is consistently negative. His cosmic mind serves chaos. Dipper uses his intelligence to investigate mysteries. This is mostly positive. He's curious, not power-hungry. But his intelligence sometimes leads him into danger. The show suggests that the purpose behind intelligence matters more than the intelligence itself. Why are you smart? What do you use your mind for? Those questions determine whether intelligence is a blessing or a curse. Let me address one more aspect of intelligence: the ability to recognize limits. The wisest characters in Gravity Falls know what they don't know. Stan knows he's not an intellectual. He doesn't pretend to understand the portal's physics. He just uses it. Mabel knows she's not analytical. She doesn't try to solve mysteries through logic. She trusts her feelings. Sus knows he's not quick-witted. He doesn't try to be clever. He's genuine. The least wise characters don't know their limits. Ford thinks he's smart enough to handle Bill. He's wrong. Bill thinks he's smart enough to predict humans. He's wrong. Gideon thinks he's smart enough to get what he wants. He's wrong. Knowing your limits is itself a form of intelligence. The Dunning-Kruger effect describes people who are too ignorant to recognize their ignorance. The inverse, being smart enough to know what you don't know, is a sign of real intelligence. Let me now discuss intelligence across generations in the show. The Pines family shows interesting patterns. Stan and Ford are twins with very different intelligences. Ford is academic, Stan is practical. Both are smart in their domains. Dipper and Mabel are also twins with very different intelligences. Dipper is analytical. Mabel is emotional. Both are smart in their domains. Is this nature or nurture? The show doesn't say, but the parallel is striking. Maybe the Pines family produces complementary twins, different kinds of intelligence in each pair. Maybe this is genetic, maybe it's developmental. Let me offer some thoughts on intelligence and happiness. In Gravity Falls, the most intelligent characters aren't the happiest. Ford is brilliant and miserable for decades. Bill is cosmic and empty. McGucket is genius level and damaged. The happiest characters are moderately intelligent with strong connections. Suze is average-ish and happy. He has family, purpose, and love. Mabel is smart, but not genius, and she's full of joy. Stan is clever, but not intellectual, and he ends the show content. There might be an optimal level of intelligence for happiness. Smart enough to navigate life, but not so smart that you see too much. Ford saw too much. Bill saw everything. McGucket glimpsed horrors his mind couldn't handle. Maybe ignorance isn't bliss, but a little less knowledge might be. Let me make a final point about intelligence and growth. Many characters in Gravity Falls become smarter over the course of the show. Dipper learns emotional intelligence from Mabel. Pacifica learns moral reasoning through her experiences. Suze gains confidence that allows him to use his abilities better. Even Ford, by the end, has started learning wisdom from Stan. Intelligence isn't fixed. It can grow. The show demonstrates this repeatedly. The characters who grow most are those who recognize their limitations and work on them. Dipper knows he needs to be more emotionally aware. Pacifica knows she needs to question her upbringing. The characters who don't grow are those who think they're already smart enough. Gideon never questions himself. Bill certainly doesn't. Growth requires humility. You have to admit you don't know something before you can learn it. Let me discuss one more pattern I've noticed: intelligence and isolation. The most intelligent characters tend to be the most isolated. Ford spent 30 years alone in other dimensions. Before that, he isolated himself in Gravity Falls doing research. His intelligence led to solitude. Bill is the most isolated being imaginable. He destroyed his own dimension. He has no true connections to anyone. His intelligence is paired with complete loneliness. McGucket isolated himself in the dump after erasing his memories. His genius-level mind left him alone with his delusions. Meanwhile, the less purely intelligent characters are more connected. Suze is surrounded by people who love him. His average-ish intelligence hasn't prevented him from building relationships. Mabel has countless friends. Her emotional intelligence creates bonds everywhere she goes. Stan, despite his rough exterior, ends the show with family who would die for him. Is this causation or correlation? Does intelligence cause isolation? Or do isolated people become more intelligent because they have nothing else? The show doesn't answer this directly. But the pattern is worth noting. Being smart might come at a cost. The cost might be connection. Let me also talk about how intelligence is portrayed across species in the show. Humans aren't automatically smarter than non-humans. Some creatures show remarkable intelligence. The shapeshifter is smart. The multi-bear is wise. .gif Fanny is genuinely intelligent despite being artificial. Some humans are quite limited. Durland isn't smarter than many of the supernatural beings. The show doesn't create a hierarchy where humans are at the top. Intelligence is distributed across all types of beings. This is interesting because many shows assume human intelligence is special. Gravity Falls doesn't make that assumption. Bill is smarter than any human. He's also not human. The show's most intelligent character is an interdimensional triangle. Maybe intelligence isn't about species. Maybe it's about something else: experience, observation, the willingness to learn. Let me offer some final observations about specific moments that reveal intelligence. Stan's moment of greatest intelligence is the finale sacrifice. In a split second, he conceived a plan that required understanding Bill's psychology, his brother's abilities, and the memory gun's function. That's brilliant. Ford's moment of greatest intelligence is building the portal. Creating interdimensional technology in a basement with 1980s equipment is extraordinary. Dipper's moment of greatest intelligence is solving the author mystery. He put together clues that no one else saw. That's genuine detective work. Mabel's moment of greatest intelligence is her emotional reads. When she understands what someone needs, often before they know themselves, that's a kind of brilliance. Bill's moment of greatest intelligence might be his manipulation of Ford. Spending years building trust, hiding his true nature, guiding Ford toward his goals, that's sophisticated. Bill's moment of greatest stupidity is underestimating Stan. He had all the information. He just couldn't imagine that a dumb human could trick him. That's the show's ultimate message about intelligence. Knowledge isn't enough. Understanding isn't enough. You also need humility. You need to imagine that you might be wrong. The geniuses who lack humility fail. The average people with humility succeed. For those of you falling asleep, I hope this journey through intelligence has been interesting and restful. We've covered so many characters. We've explored different types of intelligence. We've thought about what it means to be smart and what it means to be wise. Sleep well. Dream of characters making good decisions and bad ones. Dream of the complexity of minds. Let me leave you with this final thought. Every character in Gravity Falls has some form of intelligence. Even the gnomes have enough to survive. Even Bill has too much for his own good. Intelligence isn't about being better than others. It's about finding what you're good at and using it well. Suze is good at fixing things and caring about people. He uses that well. He ends up happy. Ford is good at understanding the universe. He uses that poorly for decades. He ends up lonely until he learns better. Stan is good at surviving and loving his family. He uses that well. He ends up surrounded by people who would die for him. What are you good at? Are you using it well? That's the real question. Not how smart you are, but what you do with whatever intelligence you have. And remember, wisdom isn't intelligence. Knowing facts isn't knowing what matters. The smartest person in the room might be the biggest fool if they don't understand people. Stan understood people. That made him, in the end, the smartest character in Gravity Falls. Sleep well, everyone. Thank you for thinking with me. Good night.